Welcome to the Profile Corner. Today I'm taking a look at the 3D printer. I had mentioned in the previous video that I was trying to print out half-inch thick pads for the 3D printer table, and I was using Polymaker Gold PLA, and the print stopped after printing roughly an 1/8 inch of material when this was supposed to be a half-inch thick. And so it was stopping with an error message saying something similar to filament stuck. And it had made a little bit of progress, making it through roughly 1/4 of what needed to be printed. But obviously that wasn't enough. And I was able to get it going again. And it printed a little bit more. And it errored again. And then I was able to get it to go without airing out. But it was printing nothing but air for the last 3/4 of the print, which means that nothing got added on to these little pads. And so I've used the cold pull method on the printer, which applies some heat to PLA, heats it up, and then it cools it down, and then it heats it up a little bit more. Let me show you what came out. There's a little bit of gold on this end, along with what looks like a green color. I'm not sure what that's about. There's also a little bit of blue, because I had tried putting in the blue PLA from Prusa. And anyway, that came off. Now I'm going to see if this actually works now to feed in PLA again. We'll go to continue. Cold pull successfully completed. And now I can tap on finish. And let's see if it'll feed in now. Okay, it says that it's loading the filament. And so it's got to heat up the print head. Now it's asking me what type of plastic. And I'm going to say that I've got PLA. And now it's heating up the print head appropriately for the PLA. And if this works, I should see some PLA squirt out through the bottom. The extruder was completely plugged up. It was not extruding any plastic at all through the nozzle. And so if this quick fix does not work, I'll try to do another cold pull on it. And if that doesn't work, then I'll use another method that they've got on Prusa's website that involves sticking some sort of a needle up through the nozzle. We're at 44% of it loading in the filament. And now it should be purging. And I did get some plastic coming out of the nozzle that time. So that's a little bit of an improvement from what I was seeing earlier. So I may try the cold pull again to see if we have any better luck. Let's try to purge more and see if we get any more filament coming out. There's just a little bit there. And it's gold colored PLA that's coming out. I'm going to try one more time to purge. Now we're getting a little bit more coming out of the gold. Okay, so we've got a little bit more to come out. A little bit of gold and blue. And there's a little bit of black coming out now. Okay, so let's see if we can get it to purge more again. Now we're getting a string of black coming out. So I'd say that we're making some progress here. There's a nice ball of plastic that came out. There it is right there, the ball of plastic. Let's try to purge some more. And there's more plastic coming out now. It's quite a ball of plastic, really. Okay, so this may have fixed the problem. So what I'd like to do is to print out the pads that go on the bottom of the feet for this table, and I'll use the blue because I don't know that I've got enough of the black PLA left. And so once I get that started, I'll bring back the camera and we can take a look at the printing progress. Looks like the 3D printer is back in business again using the Prusa PLA rather than this Polymaker gold PLA. I'm going to get the shop cleaned up while this is running, and then hopefully once this finishes we can put these pads onto the bottom of the legs on the work table for the 3D printer. Well, bad news. It looks like it's printed one layer, maybe two so far, and I've already gotten the stuck filament detected error with this Prusa PLA. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'll try to unload it and see if we can get it reloaded and see if it works after reloading. Okay, it unloaded okay. I'm going to snip the end of it at an angle. Yes, it unloaded. Now it wants me to reinsert it. Continue. And now it should be trying to reload it and squirt out some filament down here that you won't be able to see. It has purged out a little bit of filament so far. It's kind of in a ball. And this is turning up here, which is good. I'm going to tell it to purge more, just to see if that gets the problem taken care of for good. Okay, so I'm going to pull this off. And we got quite a bit of filament to come out, as you can see there. Okay, so I'm going to answer yes, and it should continue printing now where it left off. Unfortunately, when I was using this gold PLA from Polymaker, it never output any filament. And we just got the same error message again. So what I think I'll do then, come over and take that off. And let's try to unload it one more time. Okay, it unloaded. Clip the end of it again. Okay, now it wants me to reinsert it. Continue. Okay, it's extruded a little bit. It's kind of balled up here. Now it seems to be freely extruding it. There's the piece that came off just now. Okay, so let's tell it yes and see if it'll continue now. Okay, hopefully it's back at it working again. It says that it's now 5% complete. We'll take a look at it as it makes more progress later on. And here's another checkup on the progress. We're 25% of the way complete. It's been printing for about an hour now. Probably about 45 minutes since the last problem it had. And it has roughly 2.5 hours to go. 2 hours and 35 minutes according to the display here. So we'll check on it later on. Now the print job has been running for a little bit over 3 hours now. And it has about a half hour to go. It's 86% complete. It appears as though I've got that jam fixed. I don't know if I'll be using that Polymaker Gold PLA anymore in the future or not. It seems like that has some difficulty running through this printer. Well, the print job is 99% complete. It has about a minute left to go before these pads for the legs are done. So it's been running for almost 3.5 hours now. It actually just reached 3.5 hours. And it should be finishing up very soon. And there it is. It just finished the pads using this Prusa light blue colored PLA. This pad is probably going to be extremely hot. I should be able to take these off. And as you can see here, it worked out nicely. And it put a nice round over on the top. And this is actually the bottom surface of the pads. That way, if the table slides across the concrete floor to be repositioned, it's less likely to cause the plastic to get tore up with that slight roundover. So I'll get these pads mounted onto the table. I'll do that off camera. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye. So here's the directions for creating the pads for the Worktable legs in FreeCAD. First, you've got to create a body. And now we need to create a sketch in that body. And in that sketch, what we need to do, and of course we're going to create it on the XY plane. Okay, so in the sketch, we need to create a rectangle. So I'll just click somewhere out here and kind of drag it out in the directions that we need it to go. We want it to be centered around the origin, but we can do that later. I need this to be 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. I have FreeCAD set up in millimeters, so 2.5 by 2.5 inches is 63.5 millimeters. by, so I'll hit the tab key to get over to the next box, 63.5, and then hit enter. Okay, now I want that to be centered around the origin. I need to right click to cancel the tool, and I'll click on the corner, and then the diagonal corner, and then the origin, and then we can make that so that it's symmetric, and now it's constrained around the origin. So now we can close this, and then we need to pad that out to give it thickness, and I want it to be a 1/2 inch thick. Now if you only want yours to be a 1/4 inch thick, then you can put in half the dimension. 1/2 inch is 12.7 millimeters. Click OK. And there's our pad. Okay, so we want these corners to be rounded so that the plastic's less likely to chip out. So I'll click on one of the edges. We'll go to the fillet tool, and I want to make that 2 millimeters. You can make it larger if you'd like. Okay, and go to another corner here, and then I want to go back to the fillet tool, make that 2 millimeters again. Okay, click on this back edge, 2 millimeters. And then I need to rotate this around. I have it set so that I can use the Alt key and the mouse to rotate it around. Okay, so I want to change that edge back there, put on a fillet, 2 millimeters. Okay, now the top surface, I'd like to have that rounded also, so I'll click on one of the edges of the top surface. We'll go back to fillet, and I'll set that to 3 millimeters. Okay, so now that's been rounded off. Now what we can do is we can put in our holes in this top surface. So I'll click on the top surface, and then I'll create a sketch. Okay, I need a hole, so we'll start out with a circle, and I want it to be on the y-axis, so I'll click somewhere on the y-axis, and I'll specify that I want it to be 4.22 millimeters, which is about the right size for a number 6 screw. Hit enter. And now I've got that set, and I need to set the distance. So I'll go to the dimension tool, click the center of the circle, and then we'll come down to the origin, drag it out just a little bit, click again, and then we'll specify 17 millimeters. Okay, so now let's see if I can zoom back out a little bit here. And I'm going to move it down so I can get a better view of it. Actually, let's take a look at the top view. Okay, so that looks good. We can click on close. We're fully constrained. Okay, now I need to pocket that. And we're going to go all the way through. Click OK. Okay, now we've got to make sure that we've got the pocket operation highlighted. And then we can use the polar pattern. Okay, there's linear pattern, there's polar pattern. And we need 4 of those. So I'll come down to occurrences, and I'll change that to 4. Click OK. Okay, so now we've got 4 holes that go all the way through. I should be able to rotate this and see that I can see all the way through. Okay, now on to this top surface again. I need to sink the screw heads below the surface. So I click on the top surface, create another sketch, and then I need another circle, and I want it to be on the y-axis, and 9 millimeters seems to be about right. And now I need to have that set so that it's 17 millimeters from the origin. So I'll click on the measurement tool. Click on the center of the circle. Come down, click, set it to 17, hit enter, and now we're fully constrained, so I can close. And now I can do another pocketing operation. And I want to pocket down 3 millimeters. It defaulted to 5, so I'll change that to 3. Click on OK. Now with the pocket operation highlighted, I can come up to the polar pattern again, and I can tell it that I want to have 4 of those instead of 2. And then click on OK. Okay, so that's all that you've got to do to set up the 3D model for the pads on the bottom of the legs. And then of course you'd have to export that out. And to do that, we'd want to have the last operation selected here. You can go to File, Export, and then export it out as an STL file. And then you'd be able to import that into the slicer. Okay, so that's all for this video.